Good evening and welcome back to Veiled Mysteries, and thank you for spending a little bit of your Monday evening here with us. If you haven't already, make sure you are subscribed down below and hit the bell notification in the description to be notified every time we are live. Tonight, we continue our investigation into the disappearances of Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie and their subsequent untimely deaths. Veiled Mysteries chief correspondent and legal analyst Taylor Edwards and I will be analyzing the final videos of Gabby Petito to ever to exist to help better illustrate the dynamic of herself and Brian. Those final critical hours of Gabby's life hold answers to what happened in the dispersed camping area in Wyoming's national parks. This series may not be suitable for all audiences and contains discussions of domestic violence, suicide, and murder. As always, viewer discretion is advised. Live from Orlando, Florida, part 2 of the Gabby Petito story starts right now.
The following episode contains discussions of domestic violence, murder, and suicide. This program may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to part 2 of the Gabby Petito series. I'm here live with Taylor Edwards, chief correspondent and legal analyst for Veiled Mysteries. Taylor, thank you again for joining us for this special
so excited.
episode. We are here live in our season finale setup. Everyone seemed to really like it last week.
Yeah, I also really like it. It feels, I don't know. It's different being able to look at you and talk and people know rather than looking at a bunch of equipment straight ahead.
Yeah. So we are here for part 2. We do have our series finale next week for part 3, so we're excited to bring that to you as well. But today we're going to continue to talk about the Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie case. So Taylor, I'll let you give us a little intro.
Yeah, so today, everyone, if we, let's kind of do a little throwback to last week to kind of remind everyone, I guess, what happened. So in 2020? Brandon, will you remind me?
2020, yes.
Yeah, in 2020, sorry, I have only some notes up. So Gabby Petito went on a van trip with her fiance, Brian Laundrie, in 2021. So they met they started dating in 2020. So in 2021, she went on a van trip with her husband, or her fiance, Brian Laundrie, and there was a bunch of discrepancy. They went around to different campsites, and she ended up going missing. And then Brian Laundrie ended up also going missing. So tonight, we're going to go through a timeline of what exactly happened. We're going to talk about the domestic abuse that happened before the Moab stop, to kind of give how it escalated. And then we also have body cam footage, which I'm very excited about, with the Moab stop. And then we'll kind of go through a timeline of Gabby going missing and then Brian going missing and talk about, I think my mic might have gone out.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, sorry. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties. And then we're going to finally talk about some conspiracies about what happened and all of that. So I'm very...
Keep going.
Okay, so if you can hear me, sorry. Again, technical difficulties. Apparently there's a lot of feedback happening.
Yes, we can hear that.
Well, I didn't know, because they can hear it also.
I'm working on it, yeah.
Sorry, we're working on that. The sound is kind of odd right now. We're trying to fix it. So that's kind of what we're going to do tonight. And I'm very excited to hear a lot of the conspiracies that y'all have and kind of go through. I've heard some crazy ones. So I guess, Brandon, do you know much about the domestic abuse that happened prior, I guess?
So, obviously, the only real documented domestic violence that we know of was the 911 call that was made in Moab.
Okay, before Moab, though, do you know about any?
Other than that, it was really just what was found on YouTube, like within the clips, if I'm correct, right?
So we also have, there was a Netflix documentary. Sorry, we're still having that feedback issue. We're trying to fix it. Not sure what's going on. So we have a Netflix documentary that happened, and we actually have some stuff from her friend Rose Davis, which we kind of touched on Rose Davis prior in the first episode of Gabby Petito. Rose Davis was someone she met on it was a dating app, but she met her through like the friend version of the dating app. So her friend Rose Davis described Brian as jealous, controlling, manipulative, and his behavior changed dramatically through her friendship. And there was one incident I kind of want to definitely touch on with, they were going to go out. So Rose and Gabby were planning on going out, and Gabby found out, like, she realized she forgot her ID. So before they left Rose's house, Gabby went home to go get her ID, and Gabby told her that she suspected
Keep going.
Oh,
Sorry.
that she suspected that Brian had taken her ID or hidden it because he didn't want her to go out, which is very controlling. And whenever she went home to confront him and get the ID, Gabby told Rose that they fought. And during this fight, Brian pushed Gabby. Gabby ended up slapping Brian, and then Gabby left and went to Rose's house. So Gabby told Rose that she and Brian frequently fought, and it often turned physical. So there's the domestic violence that was documented before Moab, which obviously we didn't know about during, like, prior. If you didn't watch the documentary and on Netflix, you don't necessarily know about what happened with Rose. But that's kind of the domestic violence that happened prior to Moab. However, we also have documentation from Gabby that she defended their relationship. And there's a text that she wrote to Rose, which I'm not sure, were we able to find that text, Brandon?
There wasn't any public record of it. I'm sure it's somewhere in the case file, but I wasn't able to locate it.
So the text to Rose from Gabby that she showed, I think she sent a screenshot of it, was to Brian, and Gabby wrote, "I love you. Please stop hurting me emotionally. We're supposed to be a team." And it turned into her defending the relationship and telling Rose that he was affectionate with her. He was charismatic, affectionate, attentive, and this kind of shows the domestic abuse pattern that a lot of people go through. There's a, like, physical domestic or emotional abuse, and then it turns super physical, and that person ends up going back or forgiving who was domestic. It looks like we have a comment from Sean that says, Rose definitely wanted to date Gabby. Gabby may not have felt the same, but Rose was waiting for a crack in the relationship to open up. I'm not sure about that. I don't know if I fully believe that was the case, just like looking at things, but I mean, it's possible.
I definitely get the vibe that Rose, for lack of better terms, might have swung both ways. So I think there was definitely, I think she knew the boundaries of Gabby, but I think there was general interest.
Yeah, and I think she might have definitely kind of manipulated Gabby in a way, probably, about, like, yeah, the relationship's bad, which, I mean, it was, don't get me wrong, but maybe she exasperated and was, what is the word I'm trying to look for? Like, oh my gosh, made it, like, tried to make it sound worse than maybe it actually was. to try to make that crack in the relationship.
Yeah. And I also think obviously, I think there was a little bit of jealousy of Brian as well.
Yeah.
I think she was
I think the
possessive probably isn't the right word. But she was jealous of Brian and Gabby's relationship
went both
for sure.
ways. So Brian was definitely jealous of Rose, and I think it might have gone both ways.
Yeah.
And so Rose was very protective of Gabby during that whole thing.
Yeah.
So I think I want to start. Oh, hold on. We do have a comment. The van was a mobile ritual chamber. Sunset posts were coded signals to van life cultists. Brian completed the ceremony. Go for a walk equals final initiation. Ancient sacrifice, justice, van life. Interesting. I think I want to start, rather than start with the timeline of what happened, I think I want to start with the Moab domestic violence incident.
Okay.
So at about 4:39 p.m., the Grand County Dispatch received a 911 call reporting a domestic dispute outside of somewhere called the Moonflower Community Cooperative in Moab, Utah. Were you able to get that? Was that available at all, the 911 call?
Only poor sections of it. It wasn't.
Okay, yeah, that it's kind of hard to find. I don't even know if it was in the Netflix documentary, but it was definitely talked about. And that 911 call showed that Brian was the aggressor. However, there was a second 911 call that stated they were arguing. Brian was preventing Gabby from getting back into the van, which, if we remember in episode 1, we talked about Brian not letting her back into the van. And Gabby hit Brian on the arm while saying, "Why do you have to be so mean?" So that was a second call, which showed that Gabby was the aggressor. So kind of mixed signals. It looks like Sean is interested in the other theory that our guest said about the van being a ritual chamber.
Yeah.
Which I have not heard that theory. So yeah, if you want to call in and kind of talk about it and explain it, that would be fun.
Yeah, our phone line is open. It's scrolling down at the bottom of the screen, 407-801-7204. Just text us your name, and we can go ahead. We did get someone text in. Texting in my thoughts, Brian is not dead.
Yeah, I have heard that theory. I
Crazy.
heard it from someone that Brandon and I work with, which is a crazy theory because I have it listed later, but we can talk about it now. So when Brian was found, the only way they were able to identify him were through dental records. So if he is still alive, if he wasn't dead, I'm curious how you think that he's still alive because it was through dental records. Do you think it was maybe a cover-up? Do you think maybe, I don't know.
It's very interesting.
Interested.
We do have a call waiting for Jackie from Spring, Texas, so we'll go ahead and give Jackie a call.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, guys. So I want to touch on the body cam footage.
Okay, which we do have. We can show after this.
So I have something to kind of think about as we're watching it.
Okay.
So last week when we talked about Gabby and Brian both using physical violence, I've been thinking about it. When you get into the Moab body cam tonight, and I am reading this, I have my notes, can we distinguish between mutual abuse and victim using violence while resisting and reacting to coercive control? Because the original 911 caller reportedly saw Brian hitting Gabby. Then police arrive and Gabby is extremely emotional, admits hitting him, and takes responsibility, while Brian is much calmer. So my question is, does Gabby hitting Brian automatically make her an abuser too, or could some of what we're seeing be reactive or defensive violence within a larger pattern where Brian was the primary aggressor? And what should the officers have looked for to tell the difference? I think maybe some of our viewers that are psychiatrists or therapists may actually have some good input on that, and I hope they'll call in tonight to help us answer some of that.
Yeah, no, that's a good thought. And I actually have some notes on what exactly mutual abuse is so that before
Perfect.
we show the video, we can keep that in mind and really know what it is.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah.
Like mother, like daughter. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you, Jackie.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Okay.
All right, so Jackie mentioned, can we go over mutual abuse or victim abuse? So mutual abuse generally describes a relationship in which both partners are independently engaging in patterns of abusive behavior towards each other. So abuse is generally understood as more than an isolated physical act. It can involve ongoing patterns, which I think is important. So whenever we talk about domestic abuse or abuse in general, it is not isolated acts. That doesn't necessarily constitute abuse. It's more ongoing patterns and really focusing on those patterns. So it can involve power, control, intimidation, coercion, threats, isolation, and violence, which we definitely see isolation, violence. I'm sure there was a lot of threats and definitely control.
Yeah.
So mutual abuse, many domestic violence organizations discourage using mutual abuse because an abusive relationship often has a significant power imbalance. So normally with domestic abuse, it is more so one person has more control than the other. So I'm not sure if mutual abuse would necessarily fit. And then if we talk about reactive abuse or reactive violence, so more going into how she was talking about Gabby being abusive back because she was like hit, so like say hitting back, more so how like a fight would occur. A physical fight would occur. So reactive violence occurs when someone experiencing abuse eventually reacts aggressively to the person abusing them. So that might include yelling, screaming, insulting, pushing, hitting, scratching, throwing something, or otherwise physically fighting back. So that I think is important to really go into distinguishing it from self-defense, because someone uses reasonable force because they reasonably believe they need to protect themselves from imminent harm. That is self-defense. So I think that's more, you need to protect yourself prior to it happening. Like if you truly believe you're in harm's way, then going into abusing, well, I don't even want to use the word abusing someone, defending yourself, whether that be physically, verbally, whatever it may be, versus Jackie talking about reactive abuse. So yeah, I think it's definitely important whenever we watch the body cam footage, thinking about whether it's that mutual abuse or the reactive abuse, and then kind of going from there.
Okay.
I think we may have a caller.
Okay, let's take a look here.
I'm not sure. I could be wrong. I just thought I saw a notification on the other end.
Oh, yeah. We who do have Sean from Texas here.
Perfect.
Go ahead and
yeah.
give Sean
Let's
a
talk to
call.
Sean and then kind of go into that body cam footage, I think.
Hello.
Hi, Sean.
Hello. Well, so I'll comment on the body cam footage. I
Okay.
thought it was strange watching the documentary that I think maybe he was hitting her, and then when they realized that the police were coming, that he probably threatened her and said, if you don't say that you were hitting me, then it's going to get bad later.
Yeah, I definitely think it was either a situation of threatening like that, or perhaps going back into the like affectionate side of it, more so like, well, I didn't mean to, kind of a manipulative way in that sense, like, I didn't mean to do it, I only did it because you did this, kind of throwing
Yeah,
it back
and you're
on
gonna
her.
get me put in jail. You're gonna get me put in jail if you say the wrong thing.
Yeah, making it manipulative and more so going towards that affectionate side, to kind of get that back, because in the body cam footage we'll see she blames herself a lot.
Well, another thing, I think it's I thought the Rose girl was very odd, and I think that she was sexually attracted to her, and I think she was just trying to cause as many cracks in the armor as she could, and I think that Gabby talked to her as a close friend, but I think that girl exacerbated the situation by making her seem like everything was worse than it was. And I think that, you know, it seemed like from the documentary, until that girl came into the picture, that they had been dating for a while. They didn't seem to have any problems, and maybe it was they were locked in the van and couldn't get away from each other, and they just got on each other's nerves to the point of, you know, explosive behavior on both sides. But I think that girl, Rose, was a catalyst to the downfall of their relationship. I think she wanted to be with Gabby, and, you know, she was her shoulder to cry on and her secret keeper. And so I think Gabby talked to her and told her things that were happening, and she was, you don't have to take that, you know, blah, you know. And I think she was trying to destroy their relationship.
Yeah, I definitely
so she could swoop in and get her.
Yeah, I definitely think that Rose was a catalyst, because Gabby, if you watch the documentary, they stated that, like, Gabby felt like she didn't have any friends in Florida because she didn't know anyone other than Brian. And so that was really her only friend. And she hung out with her a lot. I think she really only hung out with her. And so Brian was jealous because she was spending a lot of time with her rather than him, like spending all of her time with him. So I definitely think she was a catalyst.
Right, and I think that Gabby was in the middle of the manipulation between the two of them.
She didn't know where to go.
Yep, and, you know, and then the other person that made the comment about they think that Brian is still alive. I think that that's a possibility just based on the reaction of his parents when the police went to their house. And I don't know when y'all are going to show that on the podcast, but when the police showed up to their house and wanted to see if Brian was there, and they said, he's here, but we have an attorney.
Yeah.
And her car was parked outside, and they would not speak to them. They wouldn't let Brian speak to them.
Well, so if he is still alive, where do you think he is?
I think that his parents they hit him. They
Do you think he's out of the country? Do you think he's still there?
He could be out of the country. I mean, if he's a person that likes to live off the grid, especially with the van life, and it didn't seem like he was too thrilled with her documenting the van life stuff, because the last text message one of the last text messages to the mom is she told Brian that she could make more money as a solo, van life
Yeah, she did say that at
person.
one point.
And I think that he was the type of person, in my opinion, so socially awkward that he felt more at home and at ease in the wilderness, away from everybody. And his family even seemed, not saying that all people that camp are socially awkward, but they seem like they spent a lot of time away from, everybody else. They wanted to be off alone by themselves, and he could be living off the grid somewhere, and his parents going and seeing him or check on him, and he could be as happy as a clam living in the woods.
So how do you explain the dental records that connected him then?
Well,
Yeah.
So the statement from his mother, when she wrote the letter that said burn after reading,
Which we will go over.
that said if if you needed to hide a body, I would show up with a shovel and garbage bags.
Yeah, I have the full letter. We're
so-
gonna read it in a bit, and then it is interesting.
But I think his parents, especially, they showed their actions. I think they knew. I think that when he killed her, he called his parents and said, "This has happened. What do I do?" And they told him, "You need to come back here. Bring the van back here." I think that they knew I don't know if complacent's the right word or not, but I think that they advised him on what to do with their body. I think that they told him to come back, and he came back because they immediately had lawyers, and I think that they had him come back, and they were figuring out a plan of what to do. And how weird is it that they went on a family camping trip, and I think that was planned out. I think that they went out, and I think that they went off the grid, and they figured out what to do with him to make him go away. And I think he went out in the woods, and they staged a death. How did his parents lead the search team directly to his body?
Yeah, which I also
They
have
led them
notes on all of that as well, which, yeah, I think it's really interesting. And it looks like Suzanne also agrees with you and our other viewer who thinks that he's still alive. Oh, and there is another
But
person.
But I don't think his parents, if his parents could find any way to assist him without having to kill him, because whether anybody thinks it's creepy or not, they don't have children.
Yeah.
The first time you have a child and you hold the child in your arms and you look at their face, there's a lot of things, questionable things that you would do to protect your child. And I can just tell you that as a parent. And so, right or wrong, and to society it would be wrong, but don't ever doubt a parent's love for their child and what they would do to help their child, regardless if their child did something horrific or not.
Yeah, it's an
And
interesting
I
view.
think they did. I think that they hit him. I think they got him off the grid, because how did they find him? They had search dogs, they had drones,
Well,
they had
one thing
all kinds of stuff looking for him.
Well, one thing to note, which I do have notes on later, is they think that the reason it took so long is because there was flooding. It had rained really bad the night that Chris Landry thought that he was gone and went out to go try to search for him. And so they think that it took so long because there was so much flooding, which the national park that he was in was actually closed to the public because of all of the flooding. And then after the water went down, that's when they found him.
Right, but when they go to a national park or whatever, where people hike and camp, they say, okay, this area is 20 miles.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 20-mile radius. And so they have to go through in a 20 miles or 10 miles or even a mile. 1 mile is a long way, in between of looking at every inch trying to find somebody. And they're having to make circles and come around and try to narrow it down. And his parents just walked in and said, "Oh, well, this is the trail he liked to hike on," or whatever. They couldn't have told somebody that. They walked right. I mean, from what the documentary said, they found him immediately.
Yeah.
His parents went, and then they found his backpack, and then they found him.
Which his backpack, I think, is interesting because he allegedly was found underwater, and that's why they had to use dental records, because his body was so decomposed because it was under the water for so long. However, his backpack, which was found near him, was completely dry. So
right.
I think his parents brought the backpack.
Oh, yeah.
Or his parents had already planned it out. They said, "You're going to write this journal, you're going to write this stuff, and you're going to put it in this waterproof pouch."
Yeah.
And you're going to, I mean, how did he know? I mean, who does that? Just the stuff that needed to be found that said, I found her in the water or whatever, and I did this out of mercy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the clues that somewhat show the good side of a bad situation, those were the things that were put in the waterproof pouch for the people to find. How did they know it was going to rain? You know what I mean? How did they,
Yeah, and
who goes hiking? Who goes hiking in the rain?
Yeah, and I think
it was planned.
There is a comment from Hannah, which this is what gets me. This is the only thing that gets me where I don't know if he's alive or not, is who would the body belong to?
But that's just it. If they, they could have killed somebody. They could have went and they could have got a homeless person.
So you think they might have killed a second person to... Do you think they put his teeth in there? Because that's how they found him, was the dental records.
But but you would have to research that more, Taylor.
Yeah.
I don't think that they go through and they look at every one of your teeth. I think they go through and say, okay, this person, the dental record said that they had 3 fillings in their mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And they just go in there and put 3 fillings in. If they have somebody, if you find some, they say, "Oh, this is a male, this is this age, and by the way, the teeth, there's 3 fillings in the mouth." I mean, they're not going in there with calipers and measuring teeth and all of that. Somebody's just looking at it and saying, "Yep, 3 fillings, 3 fillings. What are the odds?"
Yeah, I'll definitely do research on how exactly they use dental records to identify someone, and I can bring that up in the next episode.
Yeah.
We'll follow up on that.
Well, I'll get off the line and let somebody else, if they want to call in and give their opinion.
Yeah, we'll go through the body cam footage as well.
All right.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right, so I think we really just get into the body cam footage, and then we'll do a little bit of it, and then I have some notes we can kind of go over.
Sure. Let's see what I can pull up here.
So before we pull it up, I'll kind of start with Brian was driving the van and was pulled over by Officer Daniel Robbins, which we'll see, near the entrance to Arches National Park. The van was observed crossing the double yellow line and then crossing back over and hitting the curb. And that's why they were pulled over initially. I don't think it had anything to do with the 911 calls. I really don't even think that those were mentioned. So just kind of starting with that, that's why they were pulled over. And so now we'll kind of go into what happened whenever they found them.
Yep. Let's go here.
Take over the...
No, I
take over
started,
the pedal on you?
if I was going fast, I'm sorry. No, it's probably just the moment of, I'm still thinking now, the adrenaline, seeing the lights flashing up and then her gripping the wheel. So if I sped up, I'm sorry about that. Or if I was speeding beforehand, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, it took quite a bit to catch up to you. So,
I'm sorry about that. We're just going into the park again to get water because we have a 6-gallon water container to fill up, so we're just getting water for the hike. Okay. And I was trying to keep everything calm and quiet because there's plenty still to go for our hike. But it's good. I'm excited about that.
of course. Do me a favor. You want to go ahead and just take a seat right over here on the curb for me?
And if I was speeding, I'm sorry.
You don't have anything in my pocket or anything like that, do you?
Nope.
Just a wallet? All right. And then, do you mind lifting your shirt so I can check the waistband?
I got
Turn around for me real quick. Perfect. I just want to make sure, that's all, man. Go ahead, do me a favor, take a seat, all right? Oh, do you have your ID on you?
in the car. If you want to come with me,
No, we'll just do this. Just go ahead and take a seat.
You can come with me. I'll be
You're fine. What's your first name?
Brian.
Brian? Is that right spelling?
B-R-I-N, yeah, and L-A-U-N.
And then your last name?
L-A-U-N.
L-A-U-N.
B-R-I-E.
D-R-I-E?
Yep.
Laundry? Okay. What's your date of birth, Brian?
I'll say crisscross applesauce. Can I just sit in the shade because I'm bald?
So at this point, they're separating them and kind of, you can see that Brian's kind of like joking around, smiling.
SO229. I need a 29 name and date of birth. First name Brian, layman spellings, last name Laundry. Lima Alpha Uniform, November, Delta, Romeo, India.
Where'd you hit him? Slapped him first? On his face?
Talking to Gabby.
How many times did you slap him?
Bravo, Romeo, India, Alpha, November.
Demeanor is.
And then what? His reaction was to do what?
It's going to be out of Florida.
He just grabbed you? Did he hit you though? I mean, it's okay if you're saying you hit him, but I understand if he hit you, but we want to know the truth if he actually hit you. Because, you know, where did he hit you? No, don't worry. Be honest.
You know, she's kind of like, she's crying, she's sniffling, and she's
slapped
showing
him
how
or
he
what?
broke his face.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I do think it's interesting when they
So is he
separated
been
them, they put her in the police car.
What was up with his driving? I saw the steady hit a curb. While you're driving? While he was driving, you were hitting him? Did you already tell him all this?
I didn't get that far into
Okay,
it. She
so
was hyperventilating
She's
a little
saying
bit.
that they don't drink, but at the point when you lit them up,
You don't drink or anything.
She started hitting him.
I was yelling at him, and then when you turned your lights on, I like kind of punched his arm like there's no
she's saying it was like he hit the curb. You said it was Gabby? I'm sorry, I'm really bad. It was Gabby?
Yeah.
Try to meditate and stuff. You tend to have a lot of anxiety and stress.
A lot of anxiety.
And what's
So one thing to go through is, so we'll kind of go through Gabby's account and what she said happened, and then we'll go through what Brian's account was. I do want to quickly go through a comment that Jackie made. She said, watch how quickly Gabby accepts blame. Is that evidence she was the aggressor or potentially something investigators should have recognized as a domestic violence warning sign? I definitely think it's something they should have recognized as a domestic violence warning sign. I will say after everything happened, there was an investigation. They actually sued the Moab police. There was an investigation on how they handled everything, and it was shown how they handled everything completely incorrectly. And it was a huge investigation that happened. So Gabby's account of what happened to the police was she and Brian had been fighting and she became overwhelmed. She tells them that she had stress, anxiety, frustrations about their van life project, and there was arguments about cleanliness and organization, and that escalated their emotions. She admitted to hitting and scratching Brian during the confrontation, which on their end proves that she was the aggressor. And she also reported that Brian was physical, so she did say that he grabbed her face, which we saw, and pushed her backwards to create distance, which I think whenever she said create distance, that kind of puts him as the reactive abuser instead of the initial abuser.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also see how Gabby consistently took responsibility for the incident and focused on what she did wrong because she didn't want Brian to get into trouble, which is definitely a sign of domestic violence. A lot of times victims of domestic violence take blame for everything that happened and kind of show what they did wrong to prove that it was their fault and they deserved it in a way. And then Brian's accounts, what Brian tells the police happened is he characterized the incident as a relatively minor relationship argument after a long and stressful day. You could see in the video he was kind of laughing and joking around. He described trying to keep space between them, which is why he didn't let her into the van. And Brian had visible injuries from the confrontation, which he repeatedly minimized and told officers that he didn't want Gabby to be prosecuted, and he kept emphasizing that they were a team. So I think this goes back to the affectionate side of things. And I think this also kind of touches on what Sean was saying whenever he said that he thinks in the van before the police came, he kind of manipulated the situation into what he wanted so that he wouldn't get in trouble. And then there's also footage. So Gabby doesn't get arrested and nothing really happens in like the situation on the side of like the police. The officers spent a substantial amount of time trying to avoid a result they believed would be unnecessarily harsh. So we do have in that body cam footage further on, you can see that they are all kind of around each other in a circle debating on what they should do. They state that they don't want to arrest Gabby, but they think that they should be separated. And the Utah domestic violence law requires them to cite or arrest Gabby based on their interpretation of the evidence. So based on their interpretation, which they do talk about this, they say that Gabby is the aggressor. So Utah law for domestic violence states that they should have arrested and cited her for domestic violence, just based on what they interpreted. Whether or not that means that she actually is prosecuted and charges are pressed, they should have arrested her. And so rather than doing that, they decide to reframe the interaction so that they don't have to arrest her as a mental or emotional health crisis. And whenever they do that, then their goal is to just separate them overnight and advise them not to speak to each other, which we will see, and in their eyes that allows everyone to calm down. So if you're able to kind of fast forward through that footage and show where they, just like the police are together trying to determine what to do. Let's see, it's towards the end, I do know that.
It might be right
He's
here.
with Brian.
Actual letter of the law to
So this is where it is.
But she said she didn't try to hurt him, it wasn't malicious. She thought that he wasn't listening to her.
So assault is an attempt with unlawful force or violence to do bodily injury to another. The code for bodily injury, the definition says, bodily injury is infliction of pain or physical impairment or illness. So you can go. Now I'm recording, and society and the judges and everyone can judge me for this. I am looking at a 110-pound female, and
her fiance, who have no means to be separated. He doesn't want to pursue it. She's not a threat to him, more than slight abrasions from her fingernails. I don't care if we use the actual letter of the law to not charge, but I also don't care because it literally does possibly make perfect sense to go full-on domestic assault and do the whole thing. This is your opportunity to make the decision.
So this officer kind of gives his feedback on everything, but then he tells someone else that it is his choice whether or not to prosecute, and kind of puts it on them and states, what do you want to do? However, I think it's interesting that he reads the letter of the law and really describes what abuse is and how it's bodily injury. So I think that's very interesting because he states what it is and then he passes it off to someone else who eventually decides to just separate them.
And I think, 'cause I'm not getting any sound from the clip either, so I think this part is redacted.
That's definitely all there is to it. That's really all I wanted to kind of show is him reading the letter of the law. So
Gotcha.
I think that's really interesting that happened. So what ended up happening that night is they separated them. However, I think this part is crazy. So because they said that Gabby was the aggressor, they ended up putting Brian in a hotel. And the hotel was, they take domestic violence victims there. It's not just a one-off hotel that they chose. It's arranged through a community resource normally used for domestic violence victims. So they put Brian in a hotel and Gabby stayed in the van. And at one point, one of the officers tells Gabby, there are places that are cheap that you can go shower. And, my wife, whenever she gets upset, like a hot shower or a hot bath makes her feel better. And there's places that are cheap for you. So they stated 110-pound female in a van and said, that's where you're going to sleep overnight, figure it out, and put Brian in a hotel. And
I just want to play devil's advocate here for a moment.
Ooh, that's normally my role.
Kind of fast forwarding. Obviously, the decision was very questionable. Do we think the decision was influenced by the fact that Gabby was the owner of the van? Do you think that had any role in that?
I don't think so. They never talk about Gabby being the owner of the van, and typically whenever you're stopped, they ask for license and registration. But I don't think they even focused on that at all.
Okay.
Because he was driving it, and so obviously he has permission to drive the car, whether or not, I don't think he's on the insurance or the registration, but I don't think that made a difference.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think they would have talked about that, and because that would be a huge part in the civil case that they brought onto them.
Yeah.
But I definitely agree. Jackie made a comment stating that she wishes that, I can't find it now, but that they arrested Gabby. Here it is. I wish they would have arrested her. She may still be alive, which I also agree with, because I think if she would have been arrested, she would have called her parents.
Yeah.
And that would have made a huge difference.
Absolutely.
So that's something to think about. So I want to go through, I found some mistakes that were made.
Okay.
With what happened. So the original 911 caller's statement was not properly obtained. I honestly don't even think that was put through dispatch, because I think they also would have brought that up if that were the case whenever they pulled the van over. And then the incident was classified as disorderly conduct instead of domestic violence, which, whether or not Gabby was the aggressor or Brian was the aggressor and how they interpreted it, it was domestic violence. Either way, it doesn't matter. And we talked about how required domestic violence reporting procedures were not completely followed, which would be them arresting Gabby. The report was not forwarded to the appropriate prosecutor as required. So I guess with Utah law, it should have been forwarded, the stop in general, to someone else. And then another thing was Brian was not provided with all the formal victim rights information required after officers decided he was a victim. So typically with domestic violence, whenever they decide who the victim is, you are required to provide them with victim rights information, which kind of helps them decide whether or not the victim wants to prosecute and wants to press charges. And they didn't give him that information, at least through what we see.
Do you think that was a mistake, or do you think that was done intentionally? They were just kind of like trying to get through the situation.
I honestly think they were just trying to get through the situation. The stop wasn't terribly long, and it really didn't seem like they took any of it super seriously, and they just saw a super emotional girl. At one point, we heard the officers say, I didn't get anything from her, she was hyperventilating. So it doesn't even feel like he tried to calm her down because he wasn't with her anymore. So if we want now, we can go through the timeline of Gabby going missing.
Okay.
So if anyone has any comments or anything during this, please feel free. We are looking at the comments, and you can always text to call in.
Yes.
So as we're going through the timeline, so on August 25th, 2021, this was the last known conversation with her family. So Gabby told her mom that she and Brian were heading toward Grand Teton National Park in Yellowstone. And according to Gabby's mom, Gabby sounded normal and excited about continuing the trip and starting her YouTube channel. Also, me looking to the side, I apologize. My laptop's right here with all my notes. I did not memorize this timeline. So August 27th, a few days later, her mother received a text from Gabby's phone that said, "Can you help Stan?" Stan is Gabby's grandfather. And this was odd to Gabby's mom because she never referred to him as Stan. So looking back, her mom thinks this is one of the first major indications that someone else may have been operating her phone, which we do know Brian was using her phone at some point to send text. So they think that this is kind of the first time that he does this. So investigators did conclude that messages exchanged between Brian and Gabby's phones after her death were indicative of Brian attempting to deceive people and law enforcement into believing she was still alive longer than she was. So let's see, we have some comments. Sean said she would have ended up with Rose and she was looking like she was just as jealous and possessive. Someone else says, perhaps since it was Utah, there could have been bias by law enforcement toward Gabby. The police were probably Mormon. Some sects of Mormonism don't have much respect for women, which is very true. And Mormonism typically, which I'm not an expert, this is strictly just from what I know from
Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. As well as I've done some of my own research and I've listened to some audiobooks on Mormonism. So typically men are in control, just in general. They control the women. The women are expected to stay home, have babies, and be like stay-at-home wives, barefoot, pregnant in the kitchen. Whereas men are, typically they go out and a lot of times they have affairs. And they're not seen as wrong because men are like, I don't want to say God, but like men are higher tier.
Right.
Sean says a poor decision from the police, but he thinks it came from a good place. Jackie says, I don't remember what the text her mom before the Stan text, but it sounded suspicious too. I also don't have that text, but I do know there were a few that happened that were kind of suspicious that her mom, after the fact, looking back, which hindsight's 2020, she kind of put it together. This is also on August 27th, the last known surveillance footage of Gabby in a Whole Foods in Jackson, Wyoming, which we also have, which we will pull up. So this is the last known footage of Gabby, which we'll watch.
This is right before, we'll see, and kind of in the top left-hand side, we'll see the van pull in. I think this is the beginning of that clip where we'll see the van pull in here.
Patriarchal. Thank you, Herb. That's the word I was looking for.
See if we can make this full here.
There we go. So I think that's the van pulling in
Yeah,
right now.
that's the van pulling in the top.
The white van.
Yeah. I don't know if you can see my mouse. Yeah, I can't see my mouse. Yeah, it's just pulling in. It's going to kind of pull in on the
Jackie says to
top
watch
left.
him get out of the van, so I'm curious. I don't think I've ever fully, like, truly paid attention to what it looks like. So let's see.
And then those that might have missed it, it's kind of in the top left. It's next to, if you see the box van, it's 2 over. That's the van we're looking at.
Yeah, it's the second white van. Still waiting. It looks like they're in the car for a very long time. Maybe arguing. Can we speed it up a little? I like fast forward a little bit, see if it shows them getting out.
There we go.
Okay, it looks like a door's opening. I know it's hard to see. I'm having trouble as well because it's so small, but okay, there.
That's Brian.
Brian is getting out of the van. Looks like he's opening the trunk for something.
Can you see it here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sean says only murderers or lunatics park in the last aisle at the supermarket. That's science. Okay, but I park pretty far.
So we can see Gabby is now out of the van as well.
They're going towards the driver's side. Looks like they're close together. Jackie said he slammed the door like he was pissed.
This is a very busy Whole Foods.
Yeah. He's wearing a white shirt, so it's hard to see also. They look like little lambs. Okay, here they are.
The little lambs.
Here they are. It looks like they're
walking
walking
in
into
now.
the Whole Foods. I'm curious if they were arguing in the van because they sat in there forever.
I mean, we'll be able to see the body language when they get a little bit closer. It looks like Gabby has her arms crossed anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they're interacting really at all. Jackie said she saw it closer up on the documentary, which I'm sure it is much better footage. Is she holding onto his arm? No,
she has
her arms are crossed. She does look a little annoyed, maybe angry. All
Now,
right.
this one here, I'm pretty sure this is one of the last clips,
Yeah,
if not
this
the
is-
last clip of her.
I believe this is the last clip of.
And we can see them at the
her
top,
alive.
the top of the screen there, going down the aisle.
She does come back out. They come.
They come
pretty
down the
close to
next aisle,
camera.
yeah.
Okay, there they are again. She's just walking ahead of him. He's trailing. He's looking around, maybe he's looking for something.
I don't know. The body language looks different here than it did when they first walked in, but Gabby still looks uncomfortable with her arms crossed.
He's wearing sunglasses inside, which you do that sometimes, but that's kind of odd.
Yeah.
Sean says, Taylor, if you park on the last aisle, Brandon might just end up being the strange smell coming from the attic. I won't kill Brandon, I promise. I like to get my steps in. That's my exercise. That, and I don't want anyone hitting my car. So yeah, that's like the absolute last footage, and we can see it's August 27th at around 2:20, 2:25 p.m.
I think there is a little bit more. I don't know if Gabby's in the deli.
Oh,
Yeah.
there they are. Yeah, still arms crossed, walking alone. She's not really walking with him. It really makes me think that perhaps there was an argument
Yeah.
in the van. Because they're not even walking together. I don't even know where he is. But at the same time, Brandon, I feel, well, maybe she didn't want to, like, leave him, but I feel like this would have been a good time for her escape.
This also would have been a fantastic time to ask for help.
Correct, yeah.
because she had an opportunity. There he is in the top corner there. This was an opportunity where they were separated. Let's back up just a little
For
bit.
quite
It
some
almost
time.
looks like she like almost was getting away from him. You can see him in the top right hand
I see him
side,
walking. Where is she?
and then Gabby's behind here, and she kind of like scurries by.
Maybe almost like she's hiding.
Almost, yeah, like she just needed a minute. Almost, it felt like.
Yeah, there they
There
are
they are.
again. She's with him, but still walking away.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's trying to get around things to get closer to her.
Yeah, they are like a little distanced.
Yeah, it doesn't even look like they're talking to one another.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, this is the absolute last footage of Gabby that we have.
And then here's the video of them walking out. This is literally the last clip of Gabby alive walking out of
There they
the...
are again. Did they get anything? Did they check out at all?
I don't think so.
Unless they're going to the checkout right now. All right. This is
That's
the last
literal
clip.
last clip of Gabby.
Still looks like arms crossed in front of her, uncomfortable.
Yeah. And that's it.
All right. So after that clip, the very next day, August 28th, is whenever he's seen suddenly traveling alone, which is crazy. Jackie said it was in the bag. It was a 5-finger discount, which I wouldn't be surprised. So August 28th, Brian is suddenly traveling alone. Brian left the Spread Creek area and traveled toward Coulter Bay Village. He took pictures along the way, and phone records show that Brian calls his mom. Gabby is no longer documented traveling with him. So August 29th, this is when things get interesting, everyone. So August 29th, depositions from Gabby's parents reveal that Brian contacted them and was frantic, saying that Gabby's gone. That's all they say is Gabby's gone. He doesn't further go into it, and his father states that he did not understand this to mean that Gabby was dead.
We do have a call pending from
All right.
Sean.
Let's hear it. I'm interested to hear
Let me get it in here.
his theories after watching all of those videos.
Okay, let's give Sean a call.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
Sean.
One of the things that you were talking about, watching that last footage of her walking around the store with her arms crossed, in there was. Did y'all see there were text messages or something, and I don't remember when in the timeline, where Gabby had sent text messages to Brian stating that she felt sick and that she didn't want to pay for food.
Yeah,
That
they were at a restaurant. I believe it was before, it might have been before Whole Foods, but yeah, they were at a restaurant, and she left the table and told him that she felt sick. And he said, okay, like, I'll ask for the bill. And she said, I don't want to pay for food that I didn't eat.
or that she didn't, but I thought she was texting him or something, but I think it just goes back to show it, like, their decline in, in, like they've been worn down. Like the last footage of her in the walking and not talking to him with her arms crossed. It's like, there must have been so much bad stuff going on the constant that, it seemed like that they didn't even want to be around one another.
Yeah, I think it just built and built and built.
And I think the stuff when she was sending the messages to her mom, the last messages, where she was stating about her when she said she told Brian she would make more money without him. And, I just think that it was their relationship was just degrading it was just, not degrading, deteriorating.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just rapidly deteriorating.
Yeah, I think it was just
And I
a
think
lot
that
was
she
happening.
was on the verge of I think she was trying to get rid of him and get away from him.
Well, I do know she
And
at one point texted her ex-boyfriend and said that she wanted to get out of the relationship.
yeah, I thought that was pretty creepy that guy was on the documentary trying to get his 15 minutes of fame.
Saying that he
I
was a
thought
part of
that
the
was
whole thing.
that was very bizarre. But and I think that maybe that added to it as well, because I don't remember, but didn't she was having phone conversations with the boyfriend,
With the ex-boyfriend?
with the ex-boyfriend.
She was. She had a few conversations with him. And right before she died, he said that she called him and he didn't answer. And then whenever he called back, she didn't answer.
And so you don't think that living in a van with somebody and having limited things to do, a lot of free time, that he wasn't going through her cell phone
Oh, I'm sure.
at night.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't reading her messages, seeing who she called. And that had to have further enraged him, knowing that she was in communication with an ex. What would the need be? Why would you ever be in communication with your ex?
Yeah, when you're engaged to someone else. Yeah, definitely. And I mean,
Yes.
you can like hiking in the outdoors, Brandon. There's only so much hiking in the outdoors you can do.
Yeah.
You've got to have a break at some point.
But I think that it's just, but I think that she was grasping at straws, trying to get away from him. And maybe it was just being in the van with him trapped in a thing. And, it seemed like they had limited money.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were on a budget. They had to be able to spend their money to buy, to pay for gas. I mean, when the body cam footage, when the officer told her to go get a shower, to go pay $5 to get a shower, and she said she showered a couple of days ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think that I think both of them, more especially her because she was murdered, but I think they were in a situation. She was in a situation that she didn't know how to extract herself.
I think she was too far into it. She was too far in and
what do?
couldn't
You go
get
get on a
out.
plane. You get on a plane, as a parent, I would say, leave everything, go get on a plane and come. But I mean, you're going to leave your van.
Well, and at the same time, I think it would be dependent on if her parents gave her the money for a flight.
Yeah.
I doubt she had the money herself for a flight.
Yeah.
To just book one and go.
But I think that's what it was. I think that it was just the situation. She couldn't get out of the situation, and I think that her mom was starting to realize how dire it was by some of the messages whenever she made the comment, "Are y'all breaking up?"
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, maybe she told him, "I don't want to be with you anymore," and then he just snapped and said, "Well, if I can't have you, nobody can. You're not," he was already mad because she was, talking to her ex-boyfriend or whatever, and he killed her.
Yeah.
Snapped and killed her.
No, I agree. I completely
But
agree.
it's just, it's tragic, but it's just, you know, how her parents didn't see that. And I think he was latched onto her hoping that she was going to become an influencer and be famous, and he was along for the ride.
Yeah.
And I think that some of the stuff that they said, he was using that to try to gain, to still have dominance over her, because he was mocking her about saying she couldn't make money as an influencer and all of that. And I think that's just more controlling behavior. But
No,
I just think it
agree.
was and I think that I think that the police and the body cam footage, I think that they didn't arrest them, either one of them, because I think they saw two young kids there. And I think that they saw that they were fighting, they were arguing, they were fighting, but who wants to pin a domestic abuser tag on a kid, a young kid, for the rest of their life because they were in a van traveling around and had an argument? Not saying that the police didn't realize, they should have saw that the argument was more than it was, but I don't think that I think the cops were being lenient and just trying to separate them so, it didn't go further, and then one of them or both of them have a domestic abuser record for the rest of their life. Can never own a firearm.
Yeah.
Things like that. And I think that's why the police didn't arrest them.
No, I completely agree. I
But-
think that's good commentary. Thank you for that.
All right, well, it's been fun for the evening, so I'll let y'all, I don't know if y'all are about to wrap it up or not, but
Yeah,
I'll
I
get
think
off.
we may have another call and then,
Yeah.
yeah, probably.
Yep.
But thank you for that
All right.
commentary.
Yeah. Thank you so much for calling in.
All right.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right. It looks like we have Jackie from Spring here.
Perfect.
Go ahead and give Jackie a call.
Hello.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
Hello, one more time.
Yeah, go for it.
So, going back to Brian calling his parents.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the information about the actual text of their context of the phone call came out during the civil suit. So after all of the murder investigation was over and everything else. So basically what was said was he was upset and told his dad that Gabby was gone. Said it several times, I think they said, and then told him he needed a lawyer. And so whenever Brian showed up, his father got an attorney, but whenever Brian showed up in her van,
Mm-hmm.
what what explanation could Brian possibly have given his parents that would make all three of those things make sense without them realizing Gabby was in serious danger or that she was dead? I mean, what could you possibly say to why you called so upset and said, Gabby's gone,
Mm-hmm.
and then show up in her van? If you just said Gabby's gone and you came home on your own, you could have broken up. It could have been anything. But to say it and ask for an attorney and then come home in the van without her,
Mm-hmm.
I think at some point you have to really think about what the parents really knew.
Well, I
and
will say
what their inaction meant.
during the deposition, the father stated that he didn't take that to mean that she was dead. However, his mother in the deposition first stated that she thought it could mean that they had fought, Gabby might have left him, or there could potentially be legal trouble, which is kind of what you're alluding to. But later, the mom stated that the thought that Brian possibly killed Gabby probably crossed her mind, but she did not know for a fact that he killed her.
Yeah, so when it crossed your mind as a mom, are you not like, and even before that, whenever he showed up at home, as parents, you're not sitting him down and demanding to know what's going on. I mean, either he's a really good liar or they just didn't care, or he told them and it became Operation Cover Up.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, obviously I'm not a parent, but from talking to both you and Sean, I think that even if as a parent you're going to help and or cover up whatever it may be, that you're still going to have that sit down and be like, you need to tell me everything that happened. I need to know the full story so that way I know how to help you.
Right, you have to know what you're dealing with in that case. So I mean, I'm a firm believer that they knew, and I know you haven't really touched on it yet, but the whole camping trip that the parents took with him for like 3 days by themselves, I mean, can you really say you don't think that he told them what was going on? What did they talk about for 3 days?
Yeah, I think we're gonna move the Brian's timeline and the letter and all of that to next week and kind of go into conspiracies. But yeah, I definitely agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, well, just some things to think about for next week.
Thanks, Jackie.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Bye.
Good night.
Yeah, some interesting points.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we got a lot. We got a lot of interesting points and kind of clear some things up and have a lot make more sense based on some of the commentary we got.
Yeah.
I think it was good.
Absolutely. Any final thoughts to close us out, Taylor?
I don't think so. I'm very excited for next week. We have a surprise Brandon's going to talk about, but we're going to talk about conspiracies, and next week we'll go into the letter that Brian's mom wrote. We have the full letter. I'm going to read it, and then his timeline of going missing and all of that. So I'm very excited for next week.
Yeah, it's going to be a good show. Thank you, as always, Taylor, for joining us for the show. And thank you so much for spending some of your evening here with us tonight. The final installment of the Gabby Petito story and our Veiled Mysteries Season 2 finale airs live next Monday in front of a live studio audience at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time right here on YouTube. We're covering from beginning to end all possible conspiracy theories regarding this case, so be ready to call in and ask your burning questions. If you haven't already, make sure you are subscribed down below and hit the bell notification in the description to be notified every time we are live. Veiled Mysteries is live every Monday at 8 p.m. in the East, 7 p.m. in the Mid-Region, and 6 p.m. on the West. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at Veiled Mysteries Pod for updates and to stay in touch. If you have a true crime case or conspiracy theory you'd like to see us cover, feel free to email or message me at veiledmysterytips@gmail.com. As always, ask questions, stay curious, and be informed. I'm Brandon Ward. Have a good night.
Thank you.